Today on episode 72, our Carlton Fisk episode of the Typical Chicago Fans, we have an interview with the son of the famous Michael Jordan security guard John Wozniak, his son Nicholi Wozniak, with sinkers and floaters, What You Watchin, the Local Food Spotlight, and a TCF top 3 of our favorite cookout foods. Let's roll. Hello and welcome to episode 72 of the Typical Chicago Fans. It is Thursday, May 21st. I am Boomy on Twitter at BoomyTCF. Make sure you follow the main page at Typical_Chicago. Make sure you check out the Facebook and the Instagram page. Just type in Typical Chicago Fans. You can find us on both of those social medias. Head on over to our YouTube page and subscribe to the YouTube page for all of our content in video form. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts and follow us on Spotify. A huge thank you to our sponsors, Lodi Tap House. Make sure you check out both of their Facebook pages for their Maple Park and their Utica locations. Hit them up this week for some delicious food. Still got a little bit of time to get yourself a fully loaded burger, which is absolute fire, 10 out of 10. And if you're going to the Maple Park location, you can get yourself a growler or a crowler full of beer to go with your delicious food. Get yourself an order of cheese bites, cheese curds. Can't go wrong. Shout out Lodi Tap House.
Gamer actually went to Lodi Tap House this weekend.
Yes, I did. I went to the Maple Park location and I got myself a smash burger. Got some curds with it too. Had to get the side of curds and an order of curds. So I love curds. Love the curds. I also got myself a growler. Got myself a growler of Maine Beach. It's a blonde ale out of Crystal Lake. Ooh. And it was delicious. Had myself about half of it that night and then half the next night. So I had to savor it a little bit. Now we're using the growler's decoration actually in the house. Ooh. So making full use of it. So it was delicious. The place it's a little bit smaller than the one in Utica. More of like a the whole place is a little bit smaller in Utica, but it's got a nice like small town feel to it, and it's a great location for it. Really excited about trying it again in the future. Whenever businesses open up for us to be able to go in there and eat, I'm going for sure. It was delicious. I loved every second of it.
Absolutely. And that joining us tonight with me is Zach. You can follow him on Twitter at ZLiliaTCF, and Gameboy, the one who visited Lodi Tap House this weekend, on Twitter at TCF Gameboy. Fellas, let's get right into it. We got an amazing interview.
Amazing, interesting interview.
Heart of America in episode 6 of The Last Dance when he hit Michael with the shrug after beating him in a game of quarters in the Bulls locker room. That was John Michael Wozniak. Unfortunately, John passed away this past January, but we have an amazing interview with his son, Nicholi, who was gracious enough to give us some time with him this evening and talk about his dad and the Bulls and what life was like growing up with his dad in such a cool position. So thank you again to Nicholi, and let's throw it to that interview. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome on a very special guest to the podcast today. He is the son of the amazing security guard and Chicago police officer who stole the show of episode 6 of ESPN's documentary, The Last Dance. That's right. His dad is none other than John Michael Wozniak, who famously hit MJ with his own shrug after winning a quarters game in the Bulls locker room. You can find him on Twitter at Nicholi T. Wozniak. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome on Nicholi Wozniak. Nicholi, how we doing tonight, my man?
Doing well. How about you guys?
Oh, we're living the dream. It's actually some nice weather up here, so just better than what it has been. We got flooding down where we're at, so just live.
Yeah.
So what are you up to nowadays? I read that you live in Nashville, got a wife and some kids. What are you up to?
Yeah, I got my wife, 3 kids, 6, 4, and 2. I've been, Chicago all my life in the Chicagoland area, and work opportunity brought me down here to Nashville.
Fantastic. It's a great city.
Yeah, it is. It is a good city.
It's a city that I've been looking forward to, hopefully after the quarantine, getting to visit and going with some buddies down there after everything settles down.
Absolutely.
Yeah, honestly, it's truly an underrated city. It's a great city. Great people.
Now let's get into what were your original thoughts on the documentary. You said you grew up around the Chicagoland area, obviously your family ties. What were your thoughts on the Last Dance documentary?
Yeah, so actually being from Chicago, I want to be clear that I was born and raised in Chicago. My father was a Chicago police officer, so part of the rules of being a police officer is you gotta live in the city limits. So Beverly Park area of Chicago, a lot of firefighter, police officers, first responders live. First thoughts were you know, it just brings back all those emotions. To be honest, I kind of took it for granted growing up because I just kind of grew up with it. So I was more interested, frankly, in like the Dallas Cowboys and teams of that nature. So I was kind of like, oh yeah, Michael Jordan and the Bulls,
Right.
But it brings back all that nostalgia and all those times my dad take me to the games, put me in the players' ambulance while he had to do his job, and then he'd say, "All right, Nicky, let's go." And we go to the floor. I remember when I was like 6, crying because it was so loud in the old stadium. I was
my God.
Yeah, it was just thunderous, but it brings all that back, and it's great to see.
It was really cool to see. But what was your dad like before he got to work with the Bulls at Old Chicago Stadium and with MJ?
Yeah, so my dad was always a character. Growing up, he was the life of the party. There's rumors around, younger, he's the bartender, he's the guy dressing up in the wild outfits, he's the guy on stage. And being a kind of flamboyant police officer, they gave him the nickname Hollywood. So it reminiscent of he liked Errol Flynn, but people thought he was like Clint Eastwood with the big 44 revolver. And yeah, so he was kind of his own character before all of this, and it just kind of so happened where he got to through Gus Lett, CT, and guys like that, he got to work at the Chicago Stadium, got to meet a rookie by the name of Michael Jordan, and kind of the rest is history. They all became friends, and Michael handpicked his guys because they all had reputations of being great at their job, which was on the Chicago Police Force.
So was your dad's first year Michael Jordan's rookie year then?
Yeah,
with the Bulls.
So a lot of people, I didn't mention this to a lot of people. My dad, in his first side jobs in security, were for like the Chicago White Sox, and then he moved. Yeah, so he was a younger cop in the late 70s, early 80s, and then I say his first few years. I don't know exactly when, but I know his first few years on that detail security, wearing the yellow jackets. He was he was he was fairly still a young cop. He kind of getting his bearings under him as a police officer, but moved over to Chicago Stadium. And his first or second year, Michael was a rookie, and all the guys knew, this guy's special. Not even because of his talent, but just because of the type of guy he was. So they all, they were all kind of like more fond of him and hang out with him, talk to him, BS with him, walking into the games, and a friendship sprouted from that.
That's awesome. He was a narcotics cop during the day and then did security at night. Is that right?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, he would work. A lot of police officers do their shifts, whatever the schedule calls for. So now I know it's like 4 and 3, 4 days on, 3 days off. So a lot of police officers take their off days to work security side jobs. Or I don't remember, but in the early 90s, there were games during the day. So so say if he night shift as a police officer, he'd work the day game. And he would just kind of shift his schedule around whenever it worked out. He'd work that side job. So that's how he worked that.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
That is crazy. Like the perfect timing of everything, and like being in that perfect spot. And like you said, everyone always knew that like Michael had that charisma about him, and it always seemed like throughout the Last Dance that he kind of liked to have friendships with people a little older than him, or people maybe around his age, a little older. Like they said when he got to Chicago, Charles Oakley, he was good friends with him, and he just like always seemed like he wanted to soak up the knowledge of older people, like with Gus.
Yeah, no, that's true. And one thing my dad always would say about Mr. Jordan was that he was good at kind of listening to mentors. So whether it was David Falk, various people in their circle, he took good advice and he had great parents too, so he just was smart enough to listen to good and savvy and would process that. And that's why you see him where he's at right now. I mean, one of the first billionaire athletes, I think. And then a lot of athletes doing like, title loan commercials and things like that. I mean, so he was smart and had the right people around him. And he was smart enough to value that. So, and the guys appreciated that about him. So they were willing to, give him that wisdom.
Absolutely. Yeah. So your dad, obviously this badass cop, awesome security guard. What did he like to do away from all of that? What was, like his favorite thing to do outside of work?
Yeah. In his younger years, when we were younger, it got me into golf. I was a still pretty solid golfer, I'll say, but he loved to play golf with his friends. He actually coached before I was born. He coached with my Uncle CT, a baseball team in Robert Taylor, the projects there in Chicago. He coached the team. He often said that Keanu Reeves movie was kind of after his story.
Hardball.
Yeah, he said that was. No, he said he I don't know the exact details, but he said that they'd been approached or talked about, kind of that storyline. And, they took it from there. So what he was doing and they were called Hollywood's All-Stars, the name of the team. So he was always kind of making his own mark, making his own way, doing his own thing, not caring what people kind of like thought about his look or whatnot. And he always told me, people know me by how I look and whether you like it or not, and make your mark and live by it, he'd always say. So. But yeah, for golf with his friends, cards, anything, any guys like anything, just being with his guys, and truly being around us. Me, I got 2 younger brothers, and just being a part of our games, and just anything a dad would like to do.
That's awesome.
Cool. I seen that it said that Michael Jordan paid your dad until he passed away in January, and then also he worked for him. Where did he work in Chicago for Michael Jordan after he worked for security for Michael Jordan a little bit after his career too?
Yeah, so my dad actually was working for Chicago Bulls. Then when Michael decided to retire and go play baseball, he told my dad, Gus CT, and some of the other guys, guy Calvin Holiday, you've seen George Kohler. They kind of traveled as a pack, and hung out with Michael while he was playing baseball. So my dad took a lot of his time off, furlough days, away from the Chicago Police Department to go work the job and travel with Michael. Then he may come back, work a few days, see us a couple days, then he'd go back on the road during that summer. So he was able to leverage his schedule in that way to travel and be around Michael during that time. And then when Michael came back to play, they were reinstated back as security, but then as a second, maybe even a third job, you might want to call it, he would work detail with the family, with Michael Jordan's family, and he'd go to the house in Highland Park. So from that time all the way until my dad passed, he was working. When he could, he'd go to work to that house in Highland Park and protect it, because you had people. People were going up and taking pictures by the gate. But people were always hopping that gate, or trying to get in, or just getting too close to it. My dad was there watching,
That's amazing.
That's the one with the big 23 on the gate. That's very very cool that I had heard that they still had security around there, and that's cool that your dad was one of the guys out there.
Yep, he was.
So are you still a Bulls fan to this day?
I'll be honest with you, it's hard.
It is hard.
It is.
Well, a lot of the things come not even because of their record, but because a lot of the things that came out in the documentary, we knew, like live, like well, team's over, Jerry Krause is going to break it up. Like we knew then, and we were just told don't say anything, but like, so when all this came out, everyone's like, oh, this is so great. I was like, oh yeah, everyone knows that, like Jerry Krause broke the team up, so it was kind of like, oh yeah, I remember when Dad told us that story, or I remember when Dad said that.
Yeah.
So from that, just left, you kind of, especially knowing what we knew, it was just like, yeah, no, they'll probably be like the Red Sox, where after they traded away Babe Ruth, right, and they were good. I almost feel like the Bulls are going to follow that same fate. So, I watch basketball for good basketball, but I'm not like, and I was cheering for the Bulls when they had Derrick Rose and they were, had that run, but it was never the same. You can never love them the same, knowing kind of the organizations, how they kind of treated our guy.
Yeah, that's how you saw at the end of episode 10. That was just a dagger to my heart because it's like they hit you with the we're going to start the rebuild. And then it's just like we are still rebuilding. Like we just fired the GMs
rebuilding
and like
with Tim Floyd.
Yeah, it was, I can't for the life of me understand, and maybe we're not in that position, so it's hard to judge. But it's like, how do you justify that?
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard.
It's so maddening. It's been 22 years and we still have, like you said, we had the Derrick Rose years, and then it was, a lot of very bad basketball. And you being a guy that wants to watch good basketball, it makes it a little bit difficult to watch, for 3 years out of 22.
I mean, honestly, I talk to my friends, like it's hard to even watch basketball after Michael left. It was fun. Some people didn't like him on the Wizards. I mean, people forget he had 55 points in Madison Square Garden. People forget, like, for a 40-year-old dude, so it hurts. It's kind of like watching, I guess you'd equate it to people who are Tom Brady fans, watching him go down to Tampa Bay. But I was a Michael Jordan fan, so I was just happy to see him play again. I was hoping he'd make the playoffs with his team when he was playing with the Wizards. So I was really a Michael Jordan fan, especially just being like, seeing the respect and the love that him and my dad had. So, yeah, it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch the Bulls. Frankly, sometimes it's hard to watch basketball.
Especially when your favorite player that you're connected to like that is the greatest player of all time. Like it's hard to like see bad basketball.
Yeah, and it's just, it's my opinion. It's you watch the NBA has a business model. They have to pick a player, Shaq and then Kobe, and then kind of like, you pick this player. And, I'm not one of these anti LeBron people, but I'm more like, it's not a comparison. Just don't.
Yeah.
They're two different players, and don't try to, it's like a pushback to a marketing ploy. Like, here's the new, it's like, just don't put them in the same.
What can help us get some, what can get us more clicks though? That's usually the whole thing with trying to make that like a title or something on like a blog or something. I saw some pictures. I put a picture out on my Twitter yesterday of you and Michael Jordan. What was your favorite Michael Jordan moment, off and on the court?
On the court, when I think he dunked on Alonzo Mourning, and he like was just going nuts. Like, I love seeing when Michael Jordan get upset, because like he always was so cool and smooth. But then just, I don't know why, I just would love seeing him get like, because you knew he was really like serious. And the second favorite was when he scored that 55 on the Wizards against New York, and he was doing all that barking, and like I love to get into it like that, because it's like he can, For those are my, like, that was, I mean, when he did that, because Alonzo Mourning was, always elbowing somebody or somebody. So it was awesome when he did that. Off the court, I mean, he was just like, I was taught to respect him like any one of my dad's other friends, even, so it was like, I didn't like shoot the bull with him, it's like it's like if, your dad has a good friend, you're respectful to that friend. You don't like, you're not buddies, That's how my dad is us. So we're not pals. I think off the court, just recently, just being able, just him saying, and I don't take it for granted, nor do I exploit it, but him just saying, reach out if you ever need anything. And then him allowing me to, converse with him on a casual basis, and then being able to just tell him before the documentary started, I just said, hey, I know my dad would say things like, would pump him up. Him and his guys would pump him up, like tell Michael, go get it. After it, some expletives here and there to get him pumped. But I kind of sent him a text just like, hey, my dad would tell you to put on a show, go do them. Just in the vein of that, this is about to break some records, and he immediately replied back, like, I love it. I'll always have Gus, CT, and your dad in my heart. And that's cool. That's really cool. And like I said, it's with all due respect to Mr. Jordan. Like, I'm not his pal. My dad and him are brothers. It's the most honor, respect for him and my dad. So.
Well, that's what I think with Michael Jordan's relationships is if you are Michael Jordan's friend, like you got to keep everything private. Like he only is friends with people that will keep it as private as he likes his life to be. Because with the documentary is you figure out how crazy his life really was when he was playing basketball. And like he was confined. It's one of the most famous people in the world at the time, maybe the most famous person in the world. And he was confined to his own hotel room just to get some like private. Like you couldn't go out to eat. He couldn't go anywhere without just hundreds of people trying to swarm him for an autograph or something.
Yeah, I mean, my dad told us a story one time. They went shopping and they had to go in Chicago, like building to building underground. Like they have a channel, I think on the Mag Mile or one of those, like where you can go basement to basement, kind of like to shop or just do things. So my dad would tell us about things like that. But yeah, it was obviously of course, he's going to be private. I would understand. This is my opinion. Because he has a brand he has to protect. Also, you got to remember too the climate back then. You couldn't fire back on Twitter or something if someone put a story out there. So like the media carried a lot more weight. So people say, well, it's a good thing Michael didn't have so. But I would actually beg to differ that because there were less media channels and ways for us to get our information, he was more subject to being scrupulized by the media, which made the media more powerful, which made him have to be more protective of his brand and his image. So, it's like a double-edged sword. You know what I mean? Like, yes, there wasn't Twitter and Facebook, but Instagram, but the media carried a lot more weight. So if they put a bogus story out there, people might believe it more than they,
Especially when like in the documentary when he went to Atlantic City and he had to wait. They waited all that time to do an interview or whatever. Like was it a few weeks later or a week later or whatever? And that's something that like if Twitter was around, like they would have gotten to the bottom of it like right away. Like he could have gotten his point out right away, and like he wouldn't have had to go through all the craziness.
Yeah. So and then I kind of chuckled at some of that because I'm like, nowadays it's like, so. Like I think if you hear about that, I think some athletes it wouldn't even be a story.
Oh no. Yeah, it's like it's one of those things too, like with the whole blackjack stuff. Like there's one person in like the NBA of all time that could like is like allowed to afford playing blackjack. It's Michael Jordan because, like you said, he's one of the first billionaires. He's the first billionaire athlete of all time.
Yep. So it's kind of like is what it is.
Yeah, like he said, he's like blackjack's not illegal to play. It's very true. I like playing. I like going to the casinos too. It's just his environment. People have their stuff, and that they said back then if they didn't like it, they criticized it.
Yeah, they did.
So you said that your dad had, I think it was one or two MJ tattoos, Jumpman tattoos. Do you have any yourself then?
No. No, he might basically, and I think the story was in a Complex article. My dad told us this too. Was one day he just hopped up and he was like, "I gotta go." We're like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "M." He called him M. Like M wants to get us some tattoos. So he came back one day with a Jumpman tattoo.
That's awesome.
And then on his other arm to balance it out, he put on himself the number 23 and then a slash and then dog, like D-O. Is like I said this in another discussion. He would, you'd refer to each other, especially in the 90s, as like, "What's up, dog?" But also looked at himself like Michael's guard dog, So that was his like 23 and dog. So I had a Chicago police officer. I call him an uncle, friend of my dad's partner, John Murphy. He said that your dad would tell me in his Chicago accent. He said your dad would tell me that he says your dad was Hollywood. He'd go with $1,000 suit on, a $4,000 coat on. He'd slap some cuffs on somebody and say, "Nah, I got to go protect 23."
That's awesome.
He had the perfect hair too. The perfect. Yeah. I mean that.
He was narco cop, man. He was narcotic. You should have seen like some of his pictures. He's got a velvet shirt on, all the way buttoned all the way to the bottom of his chest, and the mustache and the whole thing. So that was his style, and he was sticking to it. And he said everyone knew him.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I only got one last question, and that's: did your dad hand down to you the great quarters playing ability that he showcased on episode 6?
You know what? I don't. That's yet to be determined. I've never. My dad has a good friend named Mike that he grew up with, and he told me back in the day we used to play that game with pennies because quarters could go a long way. We would never use a quarter to play that game. Before school, they would play that game with pennies. So I don't know if he passed that down. He did pass some very hopefully some good qualities, and a lot of people say mannerisms and whatnot, but not the quarter tossing ability so much. Again, might be a genetic thing. I might be great at it. I just don't know yet.
You got to take the kids into the room one night when you got time and start playing and see if you got it.
Do the quarter toss, yeah. And just about that story, like I love that they captured my dad in that moment because my dad being one of the younger guards, that was like their relationship. Michael always says a brother because they were like brothers, always kind of sparring, like finding some way to just rib each other, compete, and obviously it's cool with this regular guy, police officer from Chicago, being able to handle Michael and shut him down like that. It's a lot of fun for them,
And then hit him with the shrug. That was like my favorite moment of all 10 episodes. He just casually
your dad had to be one of the only people ever maybe that hit Michael Jordan with the shrug back right in his face.
You know what?
And he didn't hold a grudge for it either.
No, because they loved each other. They're like brothers, just boys hanging out. So
I love it.
Yeah,
that's what the coolest part of this was too. Like you got to see like the other side of Michael Jordan. Yeah, there was like the media, whatever, and he had to keep this kind of Michael Jordan persona. But like behind doors with the security guards, like Gus and Clarence and your dad, like he got to be friends and got to be himself because he wasn't trying to impress anybody. He knew that whatever he said to those guys, it wasn't going to get out.
Yeah, I promise you, what you saw on camera was literally like if there were no cameras there, the same thing would have happened. Because again, if you could rub it in Michael's face, like that, my dad's gonna take the opportunity to do it. And don't get me wrong, Michael would rub it back in their face too. Like it wasn't like Michael's like, oh, you guys are just security guards, so I'm not gonna like. If he's competing with someone, he's competing with someone. So. But that was cool to see because that really in that short clip that encapsulated my dad's personality and his relationship with Michael. It was fun.
Because I saw you had a story in The Athletic that was saying that your dad went to a Christmas party of Michael Jordan's and came home early because he beat him in a game of pool.
Yeah, it was. So I don't know if it was exactly a Christmas party. It was like one of those Q4 end of year. Might have been Christmas, might have been like New Year's, but it was a get together. And my dad came home. The story goes, he said, I beat Michael in pool, so he put me out. And in a way he told it was everybody went nuts because it was like, oh, here's John Michael who just beat, so people love rubbing it in. So he was like, all right, you can go, so that's the relationship.
His competitive drive was just insane. Did your dad kind of have that kind of same competitive drive too?
You know what I'll tell you? Michael respected, Tim Grover calls it the cleaner, CLEANER, cleaner. Even greater than the closer. And when we were kids, my dad would try to like instill that in us. And I didn't realize it until I read the book. And I didn't realize a lot until I was, like we all do when we get older. And I finally understood why my dad was so hard on us because he wanted to instill in us that sort of that level of just and do it drive where you don't even need to make a big hoopla about what you're about to accomplish. It's just you look up. Tim Grover says, you look up and the job is done. You're just, they say cold-blooded assassin or Kobe called it Mamba mentality, but like it's that mentality. And I will tell you that my dad, having worked as hard as he did, doing as much as he did for us kids, and just travel, just his work ethic alone, I definitely know he had that. And Michael respected that. It's like they say, like attracts like. My father, John Wozniak, John Michael Wozniak, as everyone's calling him now, Clarence Travis, Gus, Calvin Holliday is one of the guys. But I can attest to it and say, yeah, my dad definitely was a competitive person and just did the job no matter what it was. Just got it done.
you could tell that he didn't let people around him that he didn't think had the same kind of drive as him. And like I said, it's very cool that you saw how close your dad was to him, and just knowing that, you knew there was some kind of, like I said, in the DNA or something there, that there was a competitive drive just like Michael Jordan's.
Yeah, it's definitely learned, and it's like a fire that's untamed, right? Like Michael talked about in the documentary, he was because of his brothers, just years and years of probably getting beat by his brothers, and then not making the team. You have it's like, it's how you respond and process your adversity. And some people, just kind of quit, and other people just keep driving against it, and then all of a sudden they've built up this momentum that they can't stop. So it's cool. It was cool to see and relive all those talks that me and my dad had about that.
I got one last question. When is the documentary about your dad coming? When are we going to get the documentary about your dad? Because I feel like now the fans are clamoring for that more than anything.
I'll tell you what, if there's enough tweets about it and people, messaging, I think it's Mr. Air about it, the guy, the gentleman who directed. You never know. I mean, if the COVID lockdown happens any longer and there's no football, you never know. But I don't know. I can't speak. I don't know if there's any plans for any of that. I
would love to see one with like your dad and all the other security guards and the trainer and like the whole crew that Michael rolled with. Like that'd be incredible.
Yeah. But again, I don't. That's up to the powers that be. ESPN and whatnot.
Well, that's our pitch right here. We need the documentary, a 30 for 30 on the security guards of Michael Jordan. That'd be cool.
They're all great guys, though.
I saw that your middle name is it's Travis after Clarence Travis. That's very cool. He's your godfather.
Right. He was my godfather, and he was my dad's kind of like his mentor. So my dad was born, and I named me Nicholi Travis after Clarence Travis. So. And
then I also Gus got your dad was the kind of recommendation to Michael Jordan, so there was a whole friendship bond, brotherhood there.
Yeah. Well, my dad and Clarence Travis were good friends, and Gus was, I think, at the time like a sergeant or a leader of their group, and they just respected my dad, and my dad really respected Gus, and they all kind of like just like guys, buddies, good friends together, and they said, hey, we got a job here, let's take it, looking out for one another. So that would be a nice aspect to highlight if there was a documentary, because Chicago police officers, like any other fraternity, you look out for one another. So that's what they did.
If you want to see some of the cool pictures from back in the day too, go to Nicholi Wozniak's Instagram. Go on there. You got was it Hollywood Wednesdays with your dad? Some cool pictures.
That was actually birthed from Jeffrey Jordan always posts Mondays or Michael Jordan Mondays. So after my dad passed, at the time I only had like a couple hundred followers, but it was just for me, kind of therapeutic, and also just to highlight that my dad, was a good dude, and some things like just old pictures. I got a lot of them. I just started posting it up there, and then after all this happened, it's gotten more traction. I just want to honor my dad because he's a quiet worker. He did his thing. He wasn't a promoter. I'm a little more of a promoter, salesperson than he is. So I just want people to know he's a good guy.
Absolutely.
The love of it
comes across as.
And he's in a very small fraternity of people that are friends with Michael Jordan. If you look at this now, like the people that he kept up with throughout his life, he didn't really keep up with a lot. And to keep up with your dad and keep him on and everything, that's just really cool for people like me. I'm kind of younger, but my dad was a huge Bulls fan and everything, and Michael Jordan just being that close to greatness.
Yeah. It's because, my dad instilled in us that fear/respect, not to see Michael as just, a pal. But he's a friend of my father's, and respect that. And I had to, people would actually be honest. People would reach out to me, and through the media, and I wanted to get the blessing of Michael Jordan's camp before I even did anything like this. So there's utmost respect for him and his family and all he did for my dad as a brother and a friend.
I love it.
Well, Nicholi, thanks so much for joining us. You're welcome on anytime, even if you just want to talk sports and shoot the breeze. You come on anytime. You always have a lifetime pass to the podcast. From every sound of it, your dad was an amazing person. So thank you so much for coming on tonight.
You bet. And reach out. I'm happy to jump on if you need something.
All right, thank you very much.
Take care, guys.
Again, thank you so much to Nicholi Wozniak. It was a pleasure talking to him, learning more about his dad, who was just an outstanding human. Like he talked about, working as a narco cop and working in the housing projects on the south side of Chicago and everything he did. I mean, he's a cop by day and a Bulls security guard by night, and all the interesting things he had to do with Michael and all that. So thank you again.
Unreal perspective. Unreal perspective he got into a life that barely anybody got to actually see what was really going on in Michael Jordan's life, and he got to be a part of that. And just an overall awesome story. An awesome guy. Thank you to Nicholi for coming on and giving us that great story about his dad. And then Nicholi, just a great guy too.
Absolutely. And rest in peace to John Wozniak, like I said earlier, passed away in January of this year. So thanks again to him. But fellas, let's get into it. As always, we have sinkers and floaters. I will get started with my sinker, and that is the governor of Mississippi, Tate Reeves. He was doing a thing on his online where he was reading off names of high school graduates, and someone had the genius idea when they were submitting names to write in the name Harry Asscrack, Azcrack, and the governor is reading it aloud, and he's like, Billy Johnson, and then he goes Harry Asscrack. And he kind of looks around and it just continues on. He's playing it like a good sport, but he looked like a fool live on the internet for a second. He did take it to Twitter and make a couple jokes about it, but it was pretty funny to hear a politician announce the name Harry Asscrack on a live feed on the internet. So if you haven't watched that video, go look it up.
That's like the Ron Burgundy thing. You only read what's on the teleprompter. He was just reading what was on the paper. He was reading what's on the paper. He had to read it. But imagine getting away with or getting that joke across. Like, that's one of those ones you don't know if that's actually going to work, if they're going to notice it. And then when he actually says it live, that's got to be a satisfying joke for the jokester.
Yeah, you're like getting to it, like the end of the A's, and you're like, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? And he does. Yeah. Like, that's a classic nailed it joke. And he did it in a way like he spelled the name different, and it wasn't like so blatantly inappropriate that it would have like triggered any person reading the list. So that was a well.
I love that kid. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
My sinker is graduation parties. That's a big thing right now. Usually when you got graduation, high school graduation, college graduation, 8th grade graduation, kindergarten graduation, we're having parties for all different kind of graduations, but now we're not. And what do you think about the cup business, the paper plate business, the paper towel, the cake business, the catering business, the stuff like that? Like, just they're not getting used, and the fun times. Nothing's better than going to not a random, but somebody graduation party, like on a Saturday, Sunday, going to eat some food, getting some cake. Especially for you guys being teachers and stuff, you probably get invited to a bunch of them of students that you've had. Or whatever. So I think sinker's got to be graduation parties, and just how fun they're fun to go to, fun to see some friends from, like, especially like when you kind of graduate high school, when the few years out that you go to some kids that you knew and you get to see some people back then. It's just like, it's just sad. It's just sad.
Definitely. And I started sort of thinking about that the other day. I'm like, we usually get, anywhere from 5 to 10, grad party invites, with coaching and teaching and everything. And I was like, man, we haven't gotten any this year. And then I thought about it for a second, like, yeah, you idiot, because no one's having a graduation party because you can't have gatherings of like 10 people or more. So good call there, Zach. Gamer, what about you?
Well, first I gotta say, Zach, that's a great one. I didn't even think about graduation parties. That is like the time of your life when you graduate high school and you go to your graduation party, all your friends' graduation parties. That's a time of like just bonding with your friends again. And like,
what happens?
Sneaking
like,
some beers.
Do people still send you gifts? Are people still sending you cards? You're getting money because like you're getting cards from people that you probably wouldn't get cards from in the mail that we're going to your graduation party. So like, are you gonna be able to get all that money? Like that's a thing to worry about.
Absolutely, especially Boomy, your brother, Zach, your cousin, decided he wanted to chug one of my father's berry vices at my graduation and then hide it somewhere, the bottle, afterwards. And then until the next night when my dad goes, why is there an empty berry vice on the top of the ceiling here in the basement? That idiot just left it there. So yeah, my dad wasn't happy with me for some reason, even though it was his dumbass
But that's
fault.
the excitement that can come from the graduation party.
Absolutely. For me, my sinker is just face masks. I mean, we're getting to a point now. People really go outside, go out to some bars, and people just throw them away anyway. I feel like every day I see people just not wearing their face masks, not caring about it. So I'm gonna say all those people that made those face masks, those people selling them, trying to make some money off of it. They're sinking a little bit.
I don't see a lot of people wearing them, honestly. What's the point at this point? Like, I think I should wear them. I wear it all the time.
Oh yeah.
What's the point of having a rule if no one's gonna follow it? Like,
exactly.
it pisses me off too. It honestly does piss me off. Like,
Anarchy.
1 month. We have it till what? Probably May 29th, I think, that we have to wear the mask. Like, just be a sport and do it for 2 more weeks here. Or what is it? Today's the 20th. A week.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
9 days. 9 days.
Yeah, it's not that hard. Like, and honestly, like it might be a little uncomfortable, but if you're spending more than like 45 minutes to an hour in a grocery store, like, what are you doing? You obviously don't know how to shop. So,
exactly.
You know, I'm in and out in like 10, 15 minutes. But my floater, on the other hand, is homeless people, because I've been reading a lot of major cities have actually been putting homeless people up in either like really nice hotels during all of this, and some cities are even renting like trailers for the homeless to stay in. So that's, I mean, it stinks to be homeless, but I mean, now's not the worst time in the world for it.
No.
Yeah, put up. There was like a big stink in New York.
I don't think I'd ever want to be homeless.
No, but I'm saying, like, you got to make the best of a bad situation. And this is, I mean, there was like in New York, they were putting them up in like very, very expensive hotels. And I know I was listening to Theo Von's podcast. I think he lives in LA, and they were talking about like in LA, they're like putting trailers outside of, like, I don't know if they're like tow behind trailers or what, but like they're just along the parts.
Wait, so there's like homeless people sleeping at like the Ritz Carlton?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. At least, I don't know exactly like what the name of the hotel was, but there was like a big uproar of some people in New York because like they were putting homeless people up in really nice hotels, and people were getting pissed off that, you know, they were getting such expense. And I don't know how much of it is taxpayer money. Yeah.
Now, are they getting like the free meals, or are they getting like free drinks there too? Or is it just
in San Francisco, they were providing like drugs and alcohol to people who were dependent on it, like alcoholics and stuff. They were providing like
my God.
Yeah, so there was a big uproar about that. And like I said, I don't know. I don't want to speak on like how much of this was paid for out of taxpayer money, because like I don't know. But that's what the big uproar was, like tax dollars being used for stuff like this. So, but yeah, there's homeless people staying in hotels that I wouldn't stay at, because I don't spend more than like $40 on a hotel room.
That's wild. My floater is documentaries. I feel like after this 10-part one with Michael Jordan, everyone thinks that everything needs to have a documentary now. They're thinking about what should have 10 parts, what should have 6 parts, what deserves 4 parts. Like, I feel like every story needs to have a documentary now. Other than the one that does need to be made is one we talked about with Nicholi in the interview with him. The one about the security guards of Michael Jordan's needs to be done. The security guards of Michael Jordan's, the backstory of them. That documentary needs to be done. But there's so many like random basketball players that think that they need documentaries now. Like, the reason they did the one about Michael Jordan, it was so interesting, is because of how quiet he's been and how close to the vest he keeps everything. And like, I don't think that, not a lot of other NBA players have really lived their life like that. We know a lot about other guys. Like, I don't know. I just don't think.
Yeah, like there was something on Twitter. It was like, so when's the documentary about the 73-9 Warriors teams? I'm like, dude, they didn't even win a championship.
No, and like like Horace Grant went on the radio, went on Cap's show the other day, and kind of was like, if you want to call this a documentary, it was mostly about Michael Jordan. Yes, this was a Michael Jordan documentary called The Last Dance, about the 98 team, but this was a Michael Jordan documentary. He got to say what was going to be in it, and like get last take on everything. Like,
big
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous to think that this is a Michael Jordan documentary, and I think some people are taking for granted of what this really is. Like he did 10 parts. We're never going to get anything like this again from him. Like I think people need to really cherish this Last Dance.
I agree. Yeah, especially when you've got, I mean, you're going to have Kobe documentary on his last season. You're going to have, I know Dwayne Wade's working on one for the '08 Olympic team. But other than that, like, I can't think of any, like, eventually LeBron, you'll have that. But
it's hard to tell like documentaries about people who are still doing the craft that they're doing, in my opinion.
Yes, exactly. I agree. My floater for me is going to be Walt Disney World, because they're just thriving in this right now. Because granted, their parks are shut down, but now I just
they're cleaning everything.
Well, one, they're cleaning everything, making it better. But two, they're now going to be hosting the rest of the NBA season when that comes back. So yeah, they don't have the parks open right now, but they just keep winning, and they get the NBA playoffs, and they're going to be able to sell. I mean, you can't sell tickets there, but they're going to be able to sell merchandise about it. They're going to have all sorts of content. It's going to.
And I can't imagine what the NBA is paying to use those facilities too.
Exactly. Like they're just making bank on this. Even in their lowest times of having their parks closed, they're going to make money somehow out of this. So that's just awesome for Walt Disney.
A lot of money.
They just keep on winning.
Absolutely. Let's jump into it. My favorite segment that we have done recently, the TCF Local Food Spotlight. I'm going to start off with a dessert, as I like to do. When you become an adult, you can afford to start with dessert, so that way you'll always have room for it. And mine is Two Girls One Cupcake in Utica. And they have some I have spent more money on cupcakes there at the Utica Drive-In than I care to admit. They're cupcake. They don't make a bad cupcake. They're all fire. They're worth every penny. I mean, anything. The Fruity Pebbles one is amazing. They make a red velvet cookie one.
Oh, the Fruity Pebbles one is amazing.
Yeah, and I bought one. I was like, they had one of them left, so I was like, yeah, I'll take it. It was like a cinnamon vanilla something, and it was just kind of one of those. I was like, yeah, sure, what the heck, I'll try it. And it was amazing as well. So shout out to Two Girls One Cupcake, located in Utica. They are closed right now. The Illinois River is flooding pretty badly, so like basically all of downtown Utica is kind of on hiatus right now, but they're right down the road from Lodi Tap House. So when you go get your Lodi Tap House food, get your burger, your beers, you get your cheese curds, and you just drive down the street, pick up some cupcakes, and have a nice little day for you. That's a perfect. I can't think of a better meal than that. Lodi Tap House.
I can't think of a better meal. So Lodi Tap House, some beer, and you go over, get some cupcakes. Maybe get them before too. Like make a day of it. Make a day of it.
Exactly.
Mine is what I had for dinner tonight. It's 5B's Catering Service. That's in Waterman, Illinois. I think my mother picked up. It was like a pork chop, some chicken, some beans, some coleslaw, and like a biscuit or a bun or whatever. And it was delicious. A roll. And it was like, it's like one of those things that just do a bunch of quick takeouts to go or whatever. Delicious food. So go check them out. They're on Facebook too. 5B's Catering Service. I know Boomy knows of them too.
Oh, yeah.
Great food.
2 times in a week, not too long ago. It felt like they usually do like fundraiser stuffs. Different organizations. So I know my mom tracks them on Facebook, and I'll go hit them up for a meal. Their stuff is very pork chops and the chicken. You can't go.
Make sure you follow them on Facebook. So like I said, keep up to date on all their events and stuff. Great food from them.
For me, I'm gonna go somewhere here in Sycamore, just because I don't know who's listening, who might be in Sycamore, who might be
even if you're in the Illinois Valley, you can go to Sycamore. It's not that far.
But my place is Nina's Tacos. It is actually like a food truck that they've kind of turned into a bit of a walk-in place. But you walk in there and it's just full of plaques saying have the best tacos in the area. They've been ranked the best food truck in the area, best burritos in the area. My personal favorite there is the steak burrito dinner, which is actually very well priced. It's only about $7. And you can still get the beans and rice. Ooh. And it's a pretty big burrito too. And I'll be honest with you guys. I usually love getting steak burritos, steak tacos, steak quesadillas, all that stuff from all Mexican restaurants. I've had to stop getting steak everywhere else because the steak stuff there is so much better. It is that good. I cannot rank this place even like it is so good. It's perfectly seasoned. It's perfect. So if you're ever in the Sycamore area and you need a bite to eat, you want to go to Nina's Tacos.
Good choice. Gamer, I gotta ask, you ever had a chimichanga?
I've had chimichanga, yes.
No. I thought burritos were good. You dropped that sucker in the deep fryer. Oh,
it's so
game
good.
changer.
I'm feeling terrible the rest of the day, but God, it's so good.
You got to eat them for dinner. If you eat it for lunch, you're just asking for trouble. But
that's very true.
I'm gonna have to come up to Sycamore and try some Nina's Tacos because that sounds
delicious.
Let's move into what you watching. Obviously, we've all been trying to find some stuff on Netflix. I started watching a show I was very skeptical about. It was the rave of the internet for a while, and it looked very like kind of teeny bopper, not really the thing I'd be interested in. But Outer Banks, it actually was way better, way better than I ever imagined it could be. It wasn't like, super explosive, but it was, the right mix of, the love story and the treasure hunt and the violence. And it was very well done. And you can get through it very fast, like 10 episodes. I think we watched it in like 2 days. So Outer Banks, I would highly recommend.
I've heard a lot of people are getting into that show. It's kind of a quick, a show that people get kind of addicted to quickly, watch a lot of it. A binge show, as you'd say.
Definitely. 100%.
I'm really not. I don't know. I haven't been watching many things on Netflix and stuff. I've been big into YouTube lately. I don't know. This isn't a show, but I've been watching like the Pat McAfee show every day.
Yeah.
I love watching that. Is it McAfee and Hawk Sports Talk? Yeah. That is one of my favorites. I was never a fan of AJ Hawk on the field just because he played for the Packers or whatever. But listening to him call games with Pat and now the show that do every day, he's become one of my favorites to listen to. He's got I wouldn't say a harsh perspective, but he always gives he's a little bit he's not like Pat's go lucky. Pat's just loving life over there, just whatever. And AJ kind of puts him into his place a little. It just kind of sits down and really gets into the show. Like, I don't know. I think they're a great perspective of compliment of guys. Yeah, good compliment of guys.
Definitely. Yeah, I haven't watched a ton, but it is. I love Pat McAfee, but I haven't watched a ton of that particular show. But when I have, I've been very pleased. Good choice, Zach.
I'll have to watch that a little bit. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's just on the Pat McAfee show YouTube page it's usually every day. Well, awesome. Every day, I guess every Monday through Friday.
Okay. Me personally, mine, I'll go with Upload. It's on Amazon Prime Video. It's about basically in this future world, if you're about to die, you get the option where you can die traditionally, or you can have your memories in your mind basically uploaded into like a virtual reality where you then live out your days. And it's like, but it's kind of complex because you have to pay for the things that when you're in there, right? Mm-hmm. So if you, let's say, want to get a new pair of shorts, you actually have to pay for the shorts with real money from your account. And once you run out of money, like you're stuck. Like you can't like keep buying stuff. You got to take the free stuff. So it's a little like you have to watch what you're doing there, like kind of like real life. But it's funny. It's made by the creator of The Office and Parks and Rec, actually. So Greg Daniels is the one who does this. So really? It is funny. It's a little bit raunchier than The Office or Parks and Rec because they can on the streaming platform they can curse, they can have all the other stuff on there too. So there's a lot more of that, but it's very interesting. I could get a laugh out of it. Pretty good drama. So yeah, if you got Amazon Prime Video, I would suggest watching Upload.
I've never even heard of that, but that sounds very interesting, especially like you said, creators. I
always know Gamer's got something good. Gamer watches some interesting shows.
I got the pressure on me for next week too. I gotta find a new show now too. Oh man.
The ball, man. Let's move on, wrap it up with our TCF top 3. And this week we are doing Cookout foods. It is Memorial Day weekend coming up. So Obviously, in a normal world, you're probably heading to some Memorial Day cookouts. I don't know what everybody's plan is. I'm probably going to do some grilling this weekend. It's supposed to be beautiful this weekend. So I'm going to probably just be doing some grilling at the house. But in honor of Memorial Day, let's get into our top 3 cookout foods. This can include stuff you put on the grill, the sides, the desserts, whatever you want. Let's get after it. And Gamer, since you don't usually get to do the top 3 on the Daily Show, we'll let you go first, buddy.
All right, so I'm just picking one right now, though, right?
Just one.
Okay, all right. So let's see. My number 1 cookout food, man. I love a good brat. Like I'm a brat person.
Good choice.
Like through and through. Give me a good brat over a good burger any day.
I might disagree a little bit, but we can. It's very close. It's very, very close. Zach, I'm feeling generous tonight. You can go second.
I'm gonna go with the burger.
I should have gone second.
I'm going to go with the burger. I like the burger with a piece of cheese on it, some ketchup, mustard, some pickle. That is a nice cookout food. Easy cookout food, quick, and it's delicious.
Good choice. Good choice. I think it's the obvious 2 choice. And you guys can tell me if this isn't allowed, but I love a good chicken leg.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take it.
Like normally you go to a cookout, no one's doing like, chicken breasts, not regularly anyway, right? Like I might do it because I just cook everything in my freezer. But like I feel like it's an easier thing to do, like just like a giant thing of chicken legs. You do them on the top part of the grill, put them a little barbecue sauce. I love chicken, so I'm gonna go with chicken legs, barbecue chicken legs, I should say. And then my second round pick, I'm gonna go with a side here, and I'm going potato salad.
That was going to be mine.
I don't know what. It's crazy. Like if I'm sitting at home for dinner with the wife or at mom and dad's for dinner or the in-laws or whatever, I'm not super crazy about potato salad, but it's something about a little warm weather, a little outside fresh air, a couple beers, a brat, a burger, a chicken leg, whatever. It just goes well. Like potato salad feels like to me something that needs to be eaten outside. I don't know.
It's a good call. It's a good call. It's a good call. I'm going to go with just a big thing of chicken wings. Just barbecue chicken wings. Any kind of chicken wing, just a big plate, a big thing of them. And then everyone just gets to pick right out of there some chicken wings. So I'm going to go with chicken wings as my second pick.
All right. I like the chicken wings pick. That's a good pick there, Zach. I like that one. My second one, I'm going to go with baked beans.
Ooh.
Right? You guys don't like baked beans?
The more you eat, the more you chew.
Man. Some good baked beans is so good. Yeah, that's true. But, it's worth it. It's so good. So I'll do that for my second one. And then my third one, cheesy potatoes. Some good cheesy potatoes. That makes the meal right there.
Third pick.
You get a nice side of cheesy potatoes. Oh, man. Game over. I'm out for the rest of the day.
Yeah. That's a little bit of an obscure one because you don't always get that, but when you do, you're like, I'm loading up on this.
Exactly.
Like, I eat a whole plate worth of this because you don't see it at every cookout, but when you do, it's a treat.
I'm gonna go with a snickerdoodle. Dessert.
Ooh, okay.
A snickerdoodle.
Action. I like it.
Everyone's throwing out food. I think they're easy to eat. They're not like a bunch of chocolate all over the place. It's not like hard to eat. So then you can get almost too hard to eat desserts. Like
right, like a bit like gooey something.
Yeah, it's something you can pick up with your hands. You don't have to worry about getting it all over. Easy.
Not a bad choice.
Num.
I'm going to go very, very simple, and this is something I love to do. Store-bought chocolate chip cookies, whether that's Sullivan's, whether that's Walmart, the ones you get in a bag, and you can put them on a plate, make it look like you made something, but store-bought chocolate chip cookies, absolute fire.
Just make
another one I thought about throwing in, and this might be one, watermelon.
I was thinking the same thing as an honorable mention. Watermelon is a great, especially you started off like before
like a mixed fruit medley kind of thing. Yeah.
It's a perfect for a nice hot summer day.
Yes, exactly. What are some
other chicken dip?
Yeah, that's kind of like those cheesy potatoes. Like we don't see that very much, but when you do, it's good. What about potato chips?
Yeah,
basic.
It's a standard basic food there for that. I mean, it's nothing
Obviously,
special.
Cold beer, but that's a given.
That's just cheating. If we pick one of those, everybody knows who wins that.
Hopefully, everyone brings their own beer.
Another 7-layer dip.
There we go.
That's a pretty solid.
Maybe a little taco dip action.
Well, yes.
Ooh, I'll take the taco dip.
Aren't 7-layer dip and taco dip like the same thing?
Yeah, they're mostly similar. Yeah, I think taco dip's a little more simple. I think 7 layers a little more complex. Taco is more just like the very basics.
It's like 5 or 7 layers.
Yeah.
Gotta be careful with your dips too. If it's hot out, you gotta wonder what's gonna happen to the dip. You gotta be careful. You always gotta be careful with your foods too.
What about deviled eggs? You guys do deviled eggs?
I'm a big deviled eggs guy, but like I think that's more of like an Easter thing. I don't need my deviled eggs like sitting outside waiting for me.
Yeah, I'm not a big deviled egg guy. Even if I was, Cookout's probably not the time for it.
No, I think I would. I like deviled eggs. Don't get me wrong, but like I don't think a Cookout's the time for a deviled egg.
You're probably right. Or even like, so like, you take them for granted. Like you could get pretzels any day, but like pretzels while you're sitting out, in a driveway, get a couple beers in you. Those pretzels just taste like, gold.
Yeah. Oh man, I was at this convention not too long ago, and they brought out just a whole tub of pretzels, soft pretzels, cheese. Nothing better. I'm a big fan of pretzels.
Soft pretzels.
Yeah, soft pretzels with cheese. Like the little tiny ones you could get like at the grocery store. Just a bunch of them. Cheese is perfect.
I'm telling you, if I'm going to cook out and anybody brings out soft pretzels, I might never leave their house.
Oh, we could be just hanging out. You just bring out some soft pretzels. I become your best friend.
Absolutely. Well, fellas.
I got one thing here. I'm watching the end of this. It's the Game 6, the movie. I didn't realize that they smoked these cigars just straight up inside of the Utah Jazz Stadium.
Yeah.
We're just lighting up.
Well, that was back in the days when you could smoke inside.
I don't think stadiums like this, though.
When you win an NBA championship, you can do whatever the hell you want.
No, I guess you're right. I just thought that was pretty cool. Also, did you guys see that the screaming lady from the Indiana Pacers was on I think it was Cap and Company today.
Yeah, I saw that.
It, but I don't need to listen to it. But that's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I don't usually listen to Cap, but I might have to go listen to that one.
Cap just does not sit right with me.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I don't.
What's that thing? She screamed so that the lady that yelled at Joakim Noah could scream at him too. That was one of the crazier ones.
That was I remember when that happened. But that was episode 72. Again, thank you to our sponsor, Lodi Tap House. Make sure you hit up either of their locations in Utica or Maple Park. Get yourself some delicious food this weekend. Get yourself a growler or crawler full of beer. You really can't go wrong with anything on that menu. I'm telling you, that elote burger is fire. Gamer had the smash burger. You got to get some cheese curds, get some beer. Gamer, did your lady get anything different, or did she go smash burger too?
She actually got a veggie wrap from there, which I thought was an interesting choice, and she really liked it a lot. She got it with no mushrooms and a side of ranch, and she loved it. Yeah.
Hey, as long as the people like it, it's delicious. You can't go wrong. So hit them up on Facebook. Thank you, Lodi Tap House. A special thank you to Nicholi Wozniak for coming on the podcast tonight. It was a pleasure to have him representing his father and his family and everything that he lived through with those 90s Bulls that we got to watch as well. Boys, anything else?
No, not. Just hoping for MLB, NFL, or NHL get something going. NBA, let's get something going here. Let's get a date that sports are going to be back.
100%. And we will be back next week after Memorial Day. So make sure you stay tuned on all of our social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Type in Typical Chicago Fans. You will find us there. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube page for all of our content in video form. Subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts. Follow on Spotify. Thank you for joining us for episode 72. We love you all.
Peace.